Hey everyone, today we're going to be building the GK61, a beautiful bee-themed 60% keyboard. And, oh god no, I said bee. Oh no, get out of here, stop, leave me alone. Okay, they're gone. Alright, let's get started. Isn't that relaxing? Okay everyone, here we go. So the GK61 is made in the one and only China, and it's a bare bones kit you can buy. You can find it on Amazon. It usually runs anywhere between $50 and $60. And keep in mind that it doesn't come with keycaps and switches, so you'll have to get those too should you buy this. This keyboard is Bluetooth compatible and has USB-C to A connection. It comes in a pretty standard keyboard box, although there wasn't much packaging. If you open up that back pocket, you'll find some nice little accessories. We have a spacebar adapter in case you want to have two little mini spacebars and add some extra keys. And if you can open it unlike me, maybe you'll choose to use it. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I guess that's cool. I don't really personally want to use it, but it's nice they added it. Up next, we have our braided Type-C cable, and it's definitely nice and shiny. And they were also nice enough to provide a keycap puller, which I'm not too big of a fan of, and a switch puller. Alright, let's get our keyboard out. The keyboard also comes with some instructions that tell you how to replace the spacebar, as well as a warning in case you bend some of your switch pins, which, I might add, this keyboard is hot swap for 3 and 5 pins, so you can really use any switch you want for this. The GK61 weighs about 1.3 pounds, or about 590 grams, which is decent overall. Going back to that braided cable, as shiny as it is, it's not the best quality. There were some threads going around it that were kind of hanging off, but we're going to be using it for the remainder of the video. And once we get it plugged in, you'll see that there are some pretty nice RGB effects, which you could program using the GK61 driver, and I'll link that in the description. And trust me, there are a lot of different color waves and a variety of other keyboard functions you can program. Even though these LEDs are north-facing, I was really surprised when I turned this on, and they shine as bright as they do. They're actually quite nice. But that's not all we came here for, so let's take it apart and mod it. And in this video, we're going to be featuring a new tool I got, the Wow Stick. Wow. Because this keyboard is tray mounted, we need to take out all the screws in order to disassemble. And just like that, we have our aluminum plate off. The plate is nice and sturdy. It was a little warped, but overall it's alright. And now we need to take out the spacebar because it is separate from the rest of the plate. Interestingly, because the plate is separate from the spacebar, they have these little foam pads underneath on the PCB that help keep it level. Now that we have all the screws out, we can take out the PCB, and you notice it has all these nice little hot swap sockets on the back, which allows us to put any switch in we want. So the case is pretty plasticky, I won't lie. It's nice and thick, but overall, it's pretty hollow, so we definitely need something to fill that up. If you saw my last video, you'll remember that I tried using this foam to put in the Ducky 1.3 Mini, and there wasn't enough space in the case, unfortunately, to use it. But for the GK61, it worked out perfectly. All I had to do to make it fit was kind of just mold it into the case, and make sure the standoffs were poking out for the screws to go back in. If you know anything about modding keyboards, you want to try to reduce any unwanted sound you can, which is why we'll be doing the tape mod next, which is simply applying a layer or two of painter's tape on the back of the PCB. For today's build, we're going to be using the Gateron Milky Yellows, which are a linear switch that require 50 grams of force and bottom out at 60. Many would call these budget stock because they're $25 for 70, but really that is actually a great price. These are a great budget option to use, and quite frankly, I actually really like them. I went ahead and filmed and pre-lubed all these switches, but for demonstration purposes, I'll go ahead and do one. Lubing your switches is optional, but makes them sound a lot better. If you're going to lube your switches, you're going to need some tools, like some tweezers. I got some really thin ones. A switch opener. This one's from Glorious. And we have a stem holder, a lube brush, some 205G0 lube, and a bag for bag lubing your springs, which sounds weird, but trust me, you'll need it. Listen closely. As you can hear, that unlubed switch has a slight scratchiness to it. To take apart your switch, put it on the switch opener and slightly push down. It should pop pretty freely. Go ahead and separate all the parts. And usually I recommend having a bowl so you can put all your components in. Now get your lube and your brush and go ahead and get a thin layer on the brush so you can apply it to the bottom housing of the switch. Coat it evenly around the base and on the sides where the contact points, and do the same thing for the top housing. Now I kind of lied about doing bag lubing in this video, but here I am just applying some lube to the spring, but usually you would put your springs in a bag with some lube and shake it up for about 30 seconds. For the stem, you want to go ahead and brush pretty much all the way around on a linear switch, on the sides and the legs and the contact points where the stem fits into the housing. And now we're going to reassemble our switch. And like lubing, this part is optional as well, but we're going to be putting a switch film on our switch, which really just helps with the stability and less wobble of the stem. And make sure you put this on right, because if you don't, you will really regret it later. And once you put it back together, you should hear a nice little click, and it should sound a lot better. On the plate we had some stabilizers, and I'm testing to see how much they wobble, and it turns out they do, so we're going to be modding them as well. And honestly, if we don't fix this, it's definitely going to make the keyboard sound not as good. I can appreciate keyboard companies lubing their stabilizers, but this was just kind of gross, and I definitely needed to wipe it all off and redo it myself. A common way of lubing your stabilizers is using dielectric grease and 205G0. And I'm also going to be using the Holy mod, which is putting a little piece of band-aid inside the stem of the stabilizer. And then we're also going to coat the stem with some more lube. Take a close look at the stock stabilizer. It has 2 sets of legs, and one set is uneven, so we're going to be clipping those off, and that should help with some of the rattle for the stabilizers. Next, we're going to be lubing the stabilizer housing with some 205G0, just evenly coated around the contact points. Unfortunately, I forgot to record lubing the stabilizer wire with the dielectric grease, but if you watch my last video with the Ducky 1.3, you'll see how I did it. And also, you could probably just look it up anywhere on YouTube. Once you're done finishing your stabilizers, go ahead and put them back on your plate. And just like that, we're done lubing our stabilizers. Next, I went ahead and checked that they were less wobbly. One of them wasn't working too well, so I had to actually take it apart and redo it. And with that taken care of, I'm going to put everything back together. I went ahead and put the PCB back inside the case, and put the plate on top, and I grabbed a weld stick, and we're going to screw all the screws back in. Well, most of them, because leaving out a few in the middle actually makes the PCB a little bit more flexible, and that's more desirable. I went ahead and put the regular spacebar back in because I'm not a huge fan of the split spacebar. And now it's time to put our switches in. I'm putting in the switches that go into the stabilizers first to make sure that they work properly. Try to be as gentle as possible because you don't want to bend any of the pins on your switch. Align the pins with the socket and they should pop in pretty easily and you'll hear a nice click. And here are the keycaps we're using. A PBT Disassemble XDA profile keycap set called Milk and Honey, which is why I did that ridiculous skit at the beginning of the video because they have a bee-like theme. Ooh, man, do those sound good. Alright, and now I put in these switches, and with a little magic, we're almost there. Forgot one. Alright, we're almost done. I'm going to go ahead and plug the keyboard back in and make sure everything works using a program called VIA that basically makes sure that all your key inputs are actually responding. And all but one were working. So I had to download the GK61 driver and just reprogram the key. Easy fix. And the rest is putting on the keycaps. So if you got this far into the video, thank you, and hopefully you liked it. I had a lot of fun building this, and honestly, I think it turned out great. And all of this only costed $100, which is super budget friendly for a custom keyboard. Lastly, if you liked the video, consider subscribing if you want to see me do more cool stuff like this. Here's the sound test. So, what'd you think? It might be a little clacky, but honestly, it sounds really good and pretty thocky. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Alright guys, that's the end for this one. See you next time.